Hare Krishna, welcome all. Om Adnyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namaom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we have been discussing about this topic of relationship lessons from Bhagavad Gita. So before we start discussing about what lesson we can learn from Bhagavad Gita today, let's recap what we learned yesterday. So who remembers what lesson we covered yesterday and what?
Humility.
Humility is it.
Ramakrishna Prabhu?
Yeah, same Prabhuji.
Same.
Humility. Yeah.
What did we learn about humility?
So serve with humility whenever you are serving.
Serving in humility. Okay. Sudhir Prabhu?
Humility is very attractive, that strengthen our relationship.
Yeah, humility is very attractive, and by developing this quality of humility, our relationship will get strengthened because we will become so attractive that we'll attract all the relationships. Vichitra Prabhu?
Change begins from yourself.
Change begins from yourself. Yes, fantastic. So instead of expecting the change in others, we have to start from ourselves. We have to introspect, and from there we will change the world. Khandu Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We should not be too anxious to have the satisfaction of
Being praised by others.
Being praised or honored by others.
Yeah, very good. So that's the definition of humility that we saw yesterday. Himaja Mataji?
To be humble, it's not that we place ourselves in the center or expect anyone to do anything for us. Rather than that, we do more to others so that we become more humble and more purified.
Yeah, excellent. So the quality of humility removes ourselves from the center, whereas the quality of pride and arrogance is what happens is that we are putting ourselves in the center, and then we expect everything for us. We are expecting that the other people will serve us, other people will appreciate us, other people will respect us. But whereas the quality of humility is exactly opposite. In quality of humility, we want to serve others. We want to appreciate others. We want to actually introspect ourselves within and want to improve ourselves. We want to respect others. So all of this automatically happens. Very good. Subhashri Mataji?
We just went through the story of the monks, where like a small change within the group, how it brought about many people into the monastery. So a change which was within themselves that changed the whole scenario.
Yeah, excellent. And Suresh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Humility is a divine quality.
Excellent.
And with that, all the other qualities will manifest.
Yeah, very good. I was looking for this point that humility is a divine quality, whereas pride and arrogance is a demoniac quality. So we have to develop the divine qualities and give up all the demoniac qualities that we have. And by doing that, automatically our relationship are going to become very powerful, very solid, very strong, and then they are going to be strengthened. And with that, then our life will be easier. So today, we will be concluding this topic of relationship lessons from Bhagavad Gita. Hence, we have kept the sweet, the dessert, the main item or main point of this relationship lessons from Bhagavad Gita for today. And that topic is watering the root. So, which means that we have to establish our relationship with Krishna. And when we establish our relationship with Krishna, automatically everything else will fall in place. So that is the meaning of establishing the watering the root. So we are actually spirit souls. We are not this body. So what it means is that we are spiritual and this body is material. So this relationship that we are trying to have with the body is actually incompatible, because we are spirit soul, which is spiritual, and the body is material. This is incompatible, just like oil and water is incompatible. So where should we find the compatibility then? So we have to find compatibility in some other spiritual being, and that is the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord as well as the Supreme Soul. And we already have that relationship with the Supreme Lord. It is just that we have forgotten about that relationship. We have lost the connection. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bhedabhed Prakash. So we are Krishna's Tatastha energy. We are Krishna's energy. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And our original constitutional position is to serve the Lord. Krishnera Nityadas. So that is our original constitutional position, to serve the Supreme Lord. This entire Bhagavad Gita that is there, this entire book is actually talking about the relationships. It doesn't seem like, but it is talking about relationships. How? Because the entire Bhagavad Gita is spoken for establishing our lost relationship with Krishna. Bhagavad Gita speaks about various yoga systems. It talks about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. What is yoga? We have seen in our sessions that yoga is actually coming from this word called yuja, the Sanskrit word yuja. Yuja means to connect, to link. But what do we connect? So the connection is between the soul and the supreme soul, between the jiva and the Supreme Lord Krishna. So that is yoga. And that is why Bhagavad Gita is also called Yoga Shastra, because it is giving you all the information or all the knowledge about how you can re-establish your lost connectivity with the Supreme Lord. So this book gives these different ways of establishing the connectivity, either Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. But Krishna's recommendation is, of all these paths, he says that Bhakti Yoga is the best and easiest. And Bhakti is very, very dear to him. It is easiest and it gives us the best result that is possible. So while we are trying to establish, using the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, while we are trying to establish relationship with the Lord, let us see what Krishna is saying about who he has a loving relationship with. So this is a very wonderful verse from the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 29. So let's recite this. Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
name dveshosti na priyaha
name dveshosti na priyaha
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. Someone wants to read the translation? So Vichitra Prabhu, your hand is already up. Is that for a question or for reading?
I think Adi wanted to read.
Okay.
I envy no one, no I am partial to anyone.
Partial.
Partial.
Partial to anyone.
I am partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him.
Yes. So the Lord is saying, I envy no one and I'm partial to no one. So that means he's neutral. So how is he neutral? He provides all the necessities. So sunlight, oxygen, food, water to everyone. There's a story of a rich man who was very, very charitable, and he was devotee of Krishna, Lord Krishna. And he had taken a vow that he will not eat till he has fed at least one hungry person. So every day he will actually look for some hungry people and he will feed them. And it was not that he was only looking for one person. He will feed whoever hungry comes to his home, he will feed them. And only once he has fed them, then only he will eat. So one day, somehow or the other, he couldn't find any hungry person. Everyone was already satisfied and they were already filled. So he searched everywhere, and then finally he finds one old man who said that I'm hungry and I want to eat. So he was happy that he was also hungry, and he was not able to eat because he was not having any other hungry person. So he brought him home and he served him prasadam. But just before he was going to eat, just casually he asked him, do you believe in God? And the man said, no, I'm an atheist. And he became very, very angry. This rich man who was a devotee of Lord Krishna, he became very angry. And he said, just go away. I don't want to feed an atheist. I will remain, you will also remain hungry, and I will also remain hungry tonight. And this, he just made him go. And he slept hungry. That night, in his dream, Lord Krishna came. And this person was very happy to see his Lord, and he paid his obeisances. And he asked the Lord, how come you have given me darshan today? And he said that, what happened today? So you are sleeping hungry? So he explained to him that how this happened. This person came and he was an atheist. So I said that I'm not feeding you. So the Lord asked him, how old was this person? So he said he was looking like around 60 years of age. So the Lord said, so I fed this person 3 times a day for last 60 years every day. And why couldn't you feed him for one day, for one time? So the Lord is very neutral. Whether you are an atheist or you are a devotee, he offers the facilities to everyone. The basic facilities are given to everyone. The sunlight is given, the food is given, oxygen is given, and all the necessities are given. So Lord is not thinking that you are an atheist. I'm going to give you carbon dioxide, not the oxygen. But here is my devotee. I will give him only nice oxygen. No, he's giving it to everyone. And that is how he is neutral. But he has a very special relationship to his devotees. What he is saying, that whoever renders service unto me in devotion, he is my friend. He is in me and I am also a friend to him. So he has said in the verse, Mai te teshu chapyaham. That means I am his and he is mine. It looks like a Bollywood movie to me. I am yours and you are mine. Mai te teshu chapyaham is a friend. So Lord Krishna is actually very lovingly, very nicely, he is saying that this person who is in devotion, he is my friend. So this relationship is not a formal relationship where he's trying to give some basic necessities. This is very dear. He's saying that this person is my friend. He's very, very dear to me. So this is not a formal relationship like we have in offices, but this is a relationship like we have in homes. A very loving and wonderful relationship like in home. So what is the significance of having a relationship with the Supreme Lord? What is the benefit? I think many of the kids have already learned this verse that we are going to see now. The next one. So this is the loving relationship. The Lord is a friend. So this verse 9.22 from again Bhagavad Gita. अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो माम्
अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो माम्
ये जना पर्युपासते
ये जना पर्युपासते
तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां
तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां
योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्.
योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्.
I know that some of the children also know this verse. Any of the children wants to recite the verse?
Rohit can recite, I think.
So, Sitaramaya Prabhu, yes?
Translation?
Verse.
Verse. The shloka.
Ananya Sintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paripasate Tesam Nityabhiyuktanam Yoga Shemam Vahamaham.
Very nice. Very nice. So, maybe you can also read, or someone from your end can also read.
Worship we can read now.
But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Very good. So, the Lord is saying that those who are my devotees, how he reciprocates. He's saying to them, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So what you have will be preserved and what you don't have will be given to you. And this is also this very famous part, like this quarter of the verse is very famous, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. So in India, this Life Insurance Corporation, LIC, is using this slogan. They have copied it, stolen it from the law, from the Supreme Lord himself. Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. To them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So how that happens? Let's talk about a story. So there were two farmers and these farmers were friends and their fields were close to each other. But they had completely different mentality. One farmer was a very staunch or very ardent devotee of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And the other farmer was a worshipper of the king of the country. And this farmer used to always say, and he used to argue with this devotee farmer, that what has Lord given to you? You are such a poor farmer, but look at the king. He has given to us everything. He is maintaining us. One fine day, the king himself came to that village. And the farmer started glorifying him like anything. That you are our maintainer, you are our protector, you are giving us everything. And I'm so fond of you. And I just worship you and this and that. I always respect you. And he said, somehow or the other, this king was very, very flattered. He said, wow, he's such a devotee of mine. So he decided that I should reward this farmer. So he goes back to his palace and he says that he's a farmer. Let me actually surprise him. So he gets a pumpkin and he removes the inside part of the pumpkin and fills that pumpkin with lots of jewels, very valuable jewel. And he fixes that, just like in Halloween, they make some holes and make some this. So he makes a hole into it, removes everything, puts all the jewels inside and packs it back. And then sends this pumpkin as a gift to the farmer. Now farmer is thinking, I am already a farmer. I have so many pumpkins and I don't even like eating pumpkin. And why this king so big and he has only sent me a pumpkin? So he said, okay, forget about it. I'm not going to have it. I will at least sell this pumpkin and I'll get 1 or 2 rupees out of it. So he takes this pumpkin to the market and he starts selling the pumpkin along with all the other goods that he had produced. And this farmer, his neighbor, he was very poor, so he decides to buy that pumpkin for 1 rupee, and he pays the 1 rupee and buys the pumpkin. And when he comes home and he cuts it, and he finds all these wonderful jewels. So the farmer who always worshipped Krishna, he had complete faith that if Krishna is satisfied, everything is satisfied. And he doesn't have to actually do anything else. So when Krishna is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. We all know the story, the other story of Draupadi. She had the uphill task when the Pandavas and the Draupadi, they were in exile. You know that the story that suddenly Durvasa Muni comes because Duryodhana sends him. He knows that Durvasa Muni is very angry, and when Durvasa Muni goes everywhere, he goes with his 10,000 disciples. And Duryodhana thought that if I send Durvasa Muni to the Pandavas in their exile, they will not be able to serve him properly. And because he is not served properly, he will curse the Pandavas, and that is how his job will be done. So with that purpose, he sends Durvasa Muni to Pandavas. And by then, they have already eaten. They had this special magical dish which can feed any number of people. But the one rule was that once Draupadi has eaten from it, then till the next meal, it will not give any food. So that is what happens. Durvasa Muni comes, and all of them say that we are all hungry. The story is long, but anyway, what happens is finally they go for bathing. Yudhishthir somehow says that, okay, you go for bathing and we'll make some arrangement. And they go to Draupadi and says that, do something. Draupadi will say, hey, what can I do? Or 10,000 people. This plate is also not producing anything. So she just remembers Lord Krishna. And immediately Lord Krishna appears there. And Lord Krishna says that, I am hungry. And Draupadi is thinking, I am already worried that these 10,000 people have come and I'm not able to feed them. I have asked you to come here to help me. And you are saying that I am hungry? He says, no, I am hungry. Give me something before I solve your problem. So she looks at the plate and she finds one grain was stuck to it. And she says that I only have this one grain. And he says, that is enough. Give it to me. And he eats that grain. And as soon as he eats the grain, he says that I am very, very satisfied. And as soon as Krishna is satisfied, suddenly Durvasa Muni and all his disciples, they feel satisfied as if they have had a very big feast of prasadam. So that is how it is. And that is why it is said that Yasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam. Yasmin Tushte means when the Lord is satisfied, Jagat becomes satisfied. Everyone else in the world is satisfied. So all our relationships in our life become meaningful. All our activities, material activities, also become meaningful and spiritual when we have Krishna in it. If there is no Krishna, all the material activities, all the material relationships will try to derive a lot of pleasure from it. But as we know, we never receive eternal happiness from the material relationships as well as material activities. They are like big zeros in our life. But if you add Krishna, then suddenly these zeros have a meaning. And we have a choice where we add Krishna. We can add at the very far end of the zeros, and it will have some value, the value of 1. But if we add Krishna and make Krishna as the highest priority and you add him on the left side, then what will happen is, whatever number of zeros you have, more number of zero, more the value it is. So the meaning is that whenever we are adding Krishna as well in our life, we have to add him at the highest priority. When we are chanting that as a service to the Lord, that should be the highest priority. The service to Lord becomes, when it becomes the highest priority, then everything that we have in our life becomes very, very valuable, very, very spiritual. And even then taking care of our family, taking care of our friends or parents or children or anyone, that becomes Bhakti Yoga process. So the process of Bhakti Yoga is very interesting, that the Bhakti Yoga suggests that we don't have to abandon the material activities, but we have to add Krishna in the beginning. And that is how make Krishna the priority of your life. And that is how our relationships, our life, our all the material activities become successful. And that is why Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 31st chapter, 14th verse, gives very two wonderful analogies. The translation about that says that in the analogies, that by watering the root, the entire tree gets the energy, gets the nourishment. And similarly, the feeding of the stomach energizes the entire body. So these two analogies are signifying that worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by worshipping the Lord, everyone else is satisfied, everyone else is energized. All our relationships become successful and meaningful by adding Krishna to our life. So that is the main lesson today, that establish your lost relationship with the Lord. By satisfying Him, everyone else will also be satisfied. All our relationships will become better by establishing the loving relationship with the Lord. So by watering the root, the entire tree gets nourished, and similarly by serving the Lord, everything will be achieved. So we'll stop here. If anyone has any questions or comments, we will take them. Bharadwaj Shri Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Nice lecture, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, quick question is, Lord is said to be Atma Ram, so he's always satisfied within himself. So what makes him more satisfied? Like, I mean, if he's already satisfied, then what else is that that makes him satisfied?
Yeah.
That is one question, Prabhuji. And then second,
one at a time, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu.
So Lord is Atmaram. So if he is Atmaram, why he requires us for satisfaction? So from the philosophical perspective, we say that the Lord is Atmaram. He doesn't require any of us or anything for satisfaction. But that is, yeah, and yes, that is true, that he doesn't require anything else. But from the Leela perspective, if you try to understand that the Lord is waiting for all of us, we are part and parcel of Him, and He's thinking that we should all come back to Him, and then that relationship will become very pleasing and even more satisfying. So Atmaram is at one level that he is satisfied, but he wants to actually experience the reciprocal relationship with his devotees and to become even more satisfied and even more enjoying. So that is what it is. So Srila Prabhupada was asked this question once, and he answered with another example. He said very simply that I can sit here and give lecture looking at this empty screen. So of course he was not talking about the empty screen. He was saying that in the empty hall and with these 4 walls as well, I can give lecture and I will be happy. But when all of you are sitting in front of me and I'm giving lecture, I become more happy. So by giving that example, Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain that even the pure devotee is happy just serving the Lord on his own. But when he's able to serve in association of devotees, that is even more pleasing. And it is same with the Lord, that Lord is Atmaram. He gets satisfaction on his own self. But when we are serving in love and devotion, then he is even more satisfied. And the acharyas give various different commentary on this. This verse, one verse, for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had explained to Sanatana Goswami by giving many different meaning of this one verse. So when we actually are saying that the process of bhakti comes in the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. And internal energy is Lord's own energy. So when he's getting satisfaction from the internal energy, that is not that he's getting satisfaction from outside. It is his own internal energy that he's getting satisfied from. So he's still Atmaram. So there are many things, but just I think Srila Prabhupada's example was the most easy to understand instead of going too much deep into philosophy.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Can I
Krishna.
ask my second question, Prabhuji?
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Second question, Prabhuji, is that across the world, there are so many pure devotees are offering food to Krishna. Like we have seen in the past time where Draupadi run out of food, and then just by one morsel of grain, Krishna satisfied, and Durvasa Muni and his entourage, they are satisfied as well. So now, with so many pure devotees offering food to Krishna across the world, Krishna definitely would have satisfied. Why is there still hunger there? We should have been satisfied. Everyone should have been satisfied.
Yes. So if Krishna decides that he wants to remove the hunger from this world, then it is very simple. He can actually remove the hunger from this world. But at the same time, so he has also created this law of material, law of karma, and to maintain this material world. So it is as simple as that. If we actually surrender to the Supreme Lord, Lord is going to take care of us. But if we do not serve the Supreme Lord, then there are going to be some reactions. And the choice, when we say that the Lord is neutral, the choice is given to everyone to come closer to the Supreme Lord. And if we willingly don't want to take it up, then the problem is that then it is not the problem of the Supreme Lord that he is not actually giving it, but it is us, all of us, that who are the cause of the problems that we are talking about. For example, the hunger in the world that we have currently, it is because of the greed that we have. The Lord has actually provided enough for everyone, but the greed that the people in the material world has is actually causing this problem. So even in very poor countries, it has been seen that even in the poor countries, there is so much imbalance and there is so much grains or food available, but people are still hungry because it is not evenly distributed, or it is not because of the greed of some people. So that is the main problem. So our own greed has caused these problems here. And from this pastime, Lord Krishna is trying to show that when the Lord is satisfied, then the world is satisfied. But he doesn't reap or present that pastime always. So if a devotee comes and he specifically wants to perform that pastime, then yes, it will again happen that when the Lord is satisfied, then for a moment, everyone will become satisfied and their hunger will be gone. But the material body is like that the hunger is going to come back again until we, his children who are here, they are fighting and they have this pride and arrogance, who are trying to actually, because of all these demoniac qualities, we have this greed and everything, and we are not distributing it to others who has more. Till that time, it is difficult. It's a good question. Thank you. Anyone else has any question or comment? We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.